Hey there everybody, welcome to this video with me, and this I am doing is the answers to the Q&A videos, which I have to pull up here, so give me a second. But I'm shooting this video a little bit early. I'm shooting it on Friday, and it will be up on Friday, and I decided to do this because of all the craziness that has been going on in the world over the past few days here. I wanted to touch on that just a little bit, not too much. This isn't, I don't want my channel to be a political channel or anything like that, so, but I do think it's important. I did receive a bunch of questions about, like, why is all this stuff happening in the world? Why are all these crazy things happening? So I thought I would give maybe a little bit of my take on it. Also, I'm doing, starting next week, I'm going to be doing a collaboration with Marie Moore, so I will have her link in this description as well in this video, but also I'll be mentioning her over the coming week, because, one thing that I've thought of, and I was actually going to talk about it in this video anyway, is I think it would be cool for more of the people here on YouTube who do readings and things like that to do more work together and do videos together and things like that. I think that would be really awesome. So it's funny because Marie actually approached me last week, and she asked me if I wanted to do like a collaboration or if I wanted to help, like, we'd mention each other in videos and things. So I think that's going to be really awesome. So definitely check out Marie Moore if you have not checked her out. I'll put her link in the description below right at the top. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about I just wanted to quickly mention just, all these things. Again, I received a few questions about, like, why is all this craziness going on in the world, and what is happening, and like, why is it happening? Is it going to get better? All these things. And like I said, a bunch of you asked this, and, I've definitely tried to stay, as far away from politics, in this channel. I wanted to keep this channel strictly readings. And before any of these events happened, also, I will say that I was thinking about starting another channel as well, where maybe I'd talk a lot about more of the stuff. Some of you guys asked about, like, why don't any astrologers and stuff talk about the dollar collapsing and all this other stuff, and like I said, I try to stay away from that stuff in this channel. I don't want people to have to, like, see things that have nothing to do with the readings in this channel. I don't mind talking about it in maybe another channel that's for that purpose or something. But so I took a look at the astrology, especially over the past couple of days. We had this event in Dallas and things like that, and and I've been studying this stuff for a long time. If you watched any of my older astrology videos, I talked a lot about how I thought that on a global scale things were going to stay pretty crazy and things were going to be like this. And so I have my own thoughts on this, and I have the chart up for yesterday, basically, and I've been looking at the charts for the past couple days in the astrology, and I think it's very interesting. Last night and early today, kind of, we had this moon opposition to Neptune that I think can lead to some craziness in the world and things like that. But what's most important is the fact that we have Neptune in Pisces and we have Chiron in Pisces as well. And these two things are, especially Chiron there, is about healing, and that's going to be in the 5th house as well. And, that's about healing and healing things. And, what's interesting is somebody said something, and I don't have it up in front of me, so I can't find the comment, but, they basically said, why is, all this ugly stuff happening and everything like that. And my response basically was, well, we have Chiron here in Pisces, which, Chiron is the wounded healer, but sometimes, to me, I think that Chiron exposes wounds as well. And, my response was basically, how can we heal things if we can't see them? And, I think that's what Chiron does. I think it's very, absolutely very ugly and at times and things like that. If you had a big gaping wound on your arm, it would be hideous, right? But how can we fix these things if we don't see them? That's what I would say. So, I think in a lot of ways, Chiron and Neptune are here to expose a lot of wounds and old wounds and things like that, so that we can fix these things, no matter how horrible it may seem on the surface. Again, if we can't see the wounds, how can we fix them? That's what I would say about that. The other thing that's interesting here is I would encourage everybody to be a grounding force here. With all this craziness and with everything going on, there's this definite, like, 50-50 thing looking at the chart here between earth and water, and I think in one way you could easily get swept up in the emotions and get swept out to sea, so to speak, and just get caught up in a lot of this stuff, or you could be a grounding force and really take control over your feelings and things like that, and really just try to stay calm and things like that during this time, which I know is very difficult. But and I said it again for many months during those astrology videos. It's definitely a time where you don't want to take sides either, and that doesn't mean you can't have an opinion or anything like that, but it's just about you just more seeing the things that are going on, recognizing them, and definitely having your own opinions and things, but also just trying to I don't want to say stay out of it and stay out of these issues, but definitely trying to just be more grounded. People are going to be very reactive. I think this is going to continue for for a while, if I'm being honest. I think that there's going to be a lot of reactivity and a lot of reactive type Mars energy. We have Mars and Scorpio over here, being, Mars, or Scorpio being death, and Mars is in its home sign. So, I think that there could be a lot of this very reactive energy. But again, I want to stress that I do not want this channel to be about politics. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more when I answer your questions. On a much happier note, I will be answering your questions here that you guys asked on the video that I had up on July 5th. And I'll talk more about the possibility of having another channel. But again, I think this stuff will eventually clear up, but it's definitely going to take time. I think being grounded and staying grounded, and again, not jumping to any conclusions, not taking one side or the other, but really thinking about it first and then making a decision, I think is important during this time. We're not seeing things clearly. There's a lot of deception going on here. I'll say that as well. I don't want to get too crazy on you, but there's a lot of deception around some of these events and things like that. I don't think the media and things like that, we're not seeing things very clearly. I think the Neptune, Chiron, the moon, all right there, I think it's prime for not really seeing the truth, so to speak. So just be careful of that sort of thing. But anyway, having said that, I would like to get into a lot of your questions. You all asked some wonderful questions here on the Q&A video that I set up. So this video is for that, to answer those questions that you all had. Yeah, let's get into this. The first question, of course, is do you see any major problems that will occur directly before the U.S. election? Yes. I think some of this... Hold on, I do have to take a sip of water. I apologize. I have been sick for a couple days here. Yeah, I think we'll see other things. I don't want to freak people out or anything like that. I'm not a doom and gloomer. I don't believe in that. I believe in staying positive, as you all know, and things like that. But I do think that we also need to see things for what they are and all this other stuff. I will say I am concerned about the Olympics, number one. In August, I definitely have some concerns around that time, both astrologically and intuitively. I think we could see issues with water, in even maybe issues with things like disease and things like that around that time. And there could be other issues as well. The energy just seems prime for that. So again, I don't want to freak people out, but I do see some issues going on around the time of the Olympics. Probably at the Olympics. Again, there's some stuff around water going on, especially in the astrology at that time, and also issues with like disease and things like that. So it's definitely a concern of mine. Other issues, I don't think any of this stuff will calm down anytime soon. Again, I don't want to freak anybody out, but just stay level-headed and most importantly, stay calm and things like that, and really think about things. Again, with the Neptune placements and things like that, I always get worried because I think that the placements are even though it's Neptune, sometimes I still think it's like a place when it's here in Pisces and the 4th house and all this other stuff. It just, to me, is a placement of not seeing things clearly and not being level-headed and things like that. So I think if you recognize that, then staying grounded, staying calm, and really trying to focus on things as they truly are is what's most important. So yes, absolutely. But yeah, I do think there will be other issues before the election, of course. Probably similar things to what we have dealt with. Moving on to other questions here. Somebody said, why the name MinnowPond? Why the name MinnowPond? Well, MinnowPond was actually a business that I had started like a long time ago, and I liked the logo that I have there. So I really wasn't, this channel, I really didn't think it would grow like it did and all this other stuff, so I just used a logo. I was like, I'll call it MinnowPond. I like fish, so I'm a Pisces as well, so that's why I picked MinnowPond. And I know that's not a very exciting story. Maybe I should come up with something more exciting, but that's about that. Somebody asked, Saturn will be transiting my 5th house soon. What will that mean for relationship potential? Saturn in your 5th house, it means that you probably won't be as spontaneous as you normally would be. So be adventurous, be spontaneous, allow that to happen. That would be my one bit of advice for that. For sure, because Saturn can tend to weigh you down. I think having more fun will be important for you here, and that will probably help you out as far as relationships go, being more spontaneous. I had another question that I thought was really good too, was somebody asked, I meditate every day, sometimes twice a day, why can't I open my third eye? There's a lot of misconceptions around the third eye, I believe, and I think people think that they're literally going to be able to see out of their head and things like that. To me, it's much more subtle. It's something that's much more subtle and much more different than that, like actually than seeing things. A lot of these spiritual teachers out there will tell you that there's tons of stories out there, right, about fluoride affecting your third eye. There's stories about whatever, that your third eye can't open until a certain point or whatever like that. I would say just keep practicing and keep meditating on the area. I think as long as you're feeling pressure in your third eye, you're basically opening your third eye in a lot of ways. So that's that. And like I said, just remember, it's a lot more subtle than actually seeing things, seeing images and things like that. It's probably happening, but it might just be a lot more subtle than you realize. Another really good question I had, and a lot of people have asked this question, so I'm glad that it came up again because I would have forgotten about this. Somebody said my identical twin granddaughters were born 1 minute apart by a C-section. They are Geminis. They have exactly the same sun, moon, rising signs, as well as other planets being in exactly the same positions. How is it that their personalities are opposite in nature? One is extrovert, bossy, and self-assured. The other is an introvert, quiet and reserved. They couldn't be more different if they tried. Yeah, well, I think that there's a lot that goes into this. As an astrologer and as an intuitive here on YouTube, I've said it like 100 times that, number one, I think people put way too much into this stuff. Number one, right? I don't think astrology controls our lives as much as some people feel. I don't feel like the cards can control our lives as much as we feel in a lot of ways. I think the astrology and the cards are good guides. I look at them as guides and maps and things like that. They can definitely explain things on a global scale, what's happening on a global scale and things like that. They can help us explain some of these energies maybe and why things are happening to us. But when it gets down to it, like personality-wise with people and things like that, why are people different and all this other stuff, I think that there's a lot more than just the astrology. I don't think just the astrology can control our personality and things like that. I think that we come here for very, very different reasons. I think we each come here for very different reasons, to accomplish different things, to experience different things, whatever. Well, number one, too, the introvert extrovert thing, I think that's normal for twins as well. I do think one can become dominant. Maybe somebody who knows more about twins can fill us in on that, but I think that can just happen. But again, sometimes I don't think that astrology can really account for our personality 100% and like how we become, because we're here for different reasons in a lot of ways. Plus, I mean, the other explanation we could give here is Gemini. Geminis too, they can be very different. So, I think that could also kind of account for the differences there. Another really good question that I got here was, if life is predestined, what's the point in manifesting? What about spells and magic? Can you change your life plan? And I'm not talking about free will. Yeah, I mean, I don't personally think life is predestined in a lot of ways. I think we do have free will. I know you didn't ask about that, but and what about spells and magic? I'm not a big fan of the spells and magic stuff. I mean, I know there are plenty of people out there who do it, and I mean, I'm just not educated on it, so I really couldn't say. I'm not a big believer in necessarily in spells and things like that. But again, somebody could easily prove me wrong there. So, because, a lot of the stuff I believe is pretty crazy anyway. So there definitely could be a lot to it. Can you change your life plan? Yeah, at any given moment in a lot of ways. I think that, I mean, it's really, this will mess with you mentally, because I think a lot of the times when people say, can you change your life plan? And then you change your life plan, you could always say, well, was I meant to change it anyway? So, it gets real spooky, real tricky there, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, but yeah, I think we have a lot more free will than a lot of people think. So that's that. Let's see. I apologize, guys. Like I said, my voice is shot. I have been feeling a little bit under the weather for a few days here, so hopefully I get better. But there's a question here that said, often people can look back and see what or who it was that helped to bring us onto our path in life. Maybe an inspiring book or some interesting bit of synchronicity or a unmissable sign. Who or what inspired you to take the plunge and start doing readings? And then a couple other people chimed in and said, what got you on your path and things like that. Well, for me, I mean, I've been reading for a very long time. I was raised by my mother, who's kind of like a hippie in a lot of ways. I don't know how else to say it. And so I was raised in the more esoteric things. The interesting thing about me, though, is that I have always been a little bit more... I don't know, I don't want to say grounded, but just a little bit more. I questioned a lot of it first, while still believing in it. So, I think that's part of the reason why I take a more grounded approach to the readings in the first place, just a little bit differently. But I started reading cards when I was really young. And I started reading tarot. I didn't start reading playing cards until years later, but basically I took the plunge, and who inspired me was my mother. I had a very successful business before I started doing this. I've told this story 100 times, so I apologize if you've heard this already, but long story short, I lost the business. And I wasn't really doing anything. I was kind of depressed in a lot of ways, and I was really trying to figure out what to do, and things like that. So, and I actually didn't start this to make money. I didn't start doing YouTube to make money. I just started it to give me something to do, and to help other people. My mom actually suggested, she's like, you're not doing anything. Why don't you start reading cards and things like that, and trying to help people out? So that's what I did, just trying to help people out. And it's funny because ever since I started doing that, then I started other businesses that have taken off now. So again, it's interesting how helping people has also kind of helped me in a lot of ways. You guys have been awesome. I never thought this channel would be like this, ever. So it's been pretty interesting. But yeah, my mom inspired me to do it. But as far as inspired to do readings and things like that, I mean, I've told this story too, but I had a very severe skin condition on my hands that destroyed my hands. I don't think any of you can really see it now, but my mom also suggested that I start reading cards because, and this happened long before the channel here, she suggested I started reading cards to maybe heal my hands, because maybe the energy wanted to get out. I started doing that in Reiki, and that pretty much fixed it. So that's basically how I got started. Not very exciting, I know, but that's basically that. Somebody asked this question. It wasn't really a question too, but I definitely wanted to touch on this. Somebody said that they're having a hard time, they're feeling depressed, they're not happy, they're not making a lot of money, they're not having a lot of luck at all. One thing I want to stress, and again, I mean, I have a million ideas in my head for doing more videos for you guys. I want to do more. I want to work more with the channel and things like that, and I'm tempted, like I've said in the past, to start a separate channel for other stuff. I think I want to keep this readings. I don't want to I don't want people who only want readings to have to deal with the other stuff that I'm going to talk about. So I think I'm going to keep it separate, but I've been thinking about talking about making money and things like that, and different ways to speed up your luck and things like that. But really the gist of it is, and pretty much all I would say in those videos, is that the universe, I think, is stressing the fact that it wants us to be very self-reliant right now. It really wants us to focus on ourselves during this period of time. So it's all about building skills. So I'd say if you're struggling with money and you're struggling with making money, develop a skill, develop some sort of skill, read on YouTube, develop one of your hobbies or something like that into a business. That's what I really see the universe working towards, is getting us away from jobs. I don't think jobs are coming back. I don't think it's going to get any easier to get jobs or anything like that. So I think it's important for people to definitely kind of focus on themselves and really build up their own skills so they can make money and things like that. Maybe, like I said, I think I'll do more videos on talking about stuff like that. It's, pretty simple stuff, though. Um, let's see here. Somebody said, I'm interested in your thoughts, guidance you may have as far as getting over crushes, love as a way towards personal growth. Yeah, getting over love. Yeah, that's another thing that's come up a lot, especially we had this Grand Earth Trine earlier, just a little while ago and things like that. It's yeah, getting over love for people is difficult, and it's all about learning to let go, learning to move on to somebody else in a lot of ways. And that's also something that I've talked about before. The universe really wants us to learn to move on to other things. I think the universe is getting more specific. I've said it before. I think we'll see divorces go even higher. Divorce rates are at an all-time high. I think it's going to go even higher, and I think that's because the universe really wants us to really know what we want on the inside, and really wants us to be with that type of person that we truly know that we're supposed to be with. So, that's that. But as far as personal growth goes, yeah, there's a lot of personal growth here, because you can, look at yourself and look at for maybe reasons why it happened and what you can fix in the future. I think it's all good stuff in a lot of ways. Oh, and we have another good question here too. Somebody said, why do people get stuck in situations and not let go when they deal with people who are unethical, selfish, greedy in daily situations? Is it a characteristic of their sign? And if so, what part of the chart affects their ego or integrity? Which is the strongest part of someone's personality and how they represent themselves to others when they were born, or moon, sun, rising, or is it society and how they were raised? Then they go on to add, in general, I was asking, do personalities come from a chart in their section? You always say Pisces is sensitive. Is there a house in the chart that creates this, or is it a planet in that particular house? Would it change the stereotype of a sign? Yeah, there's a ton of stuff we could go over here. I could go on for hours about this stuff, but definitely the first house is how we present ourselves to the world in a lot of ways. The sun is also how we are perceived in a lot of ways. I always say that the moon is who we are, and the sun is who we are trying to be as well, so it gets even more confusing, but these things definitely affect our personality. Also, there's so much that goes into this, and I don't even think, not all Pisces are sensitive. It's like there's so much that you could look at. Some Pisces have a lot of earth, and so they're actually very grounded. They're not very, they're not too, watery or anything like that. So there is so much that we could look at. But yeah, first house, definitely, sun, moon, and rising are all, I would say, are all important for that. And then also, of course, environment, absolutely, how they were raised, absolutely. I think that's an even bigger one. You got to remember, we are here on Earth, you know what I mean? So the stuff that happens here is what's going to affect us most. I think, again, I've said it earlier in the video, I think that astrologers get caught up in this stuff a lot, and which is fine, and I think people do as well, but you got to remember, we're like here, we are here, so everything that happens here is what's going to affect us the most, not everything out there. So environment, I think, plays a lot into it, and there's like a lot of studies on this. You could read Rupert Sheldrake. He talks about morphogenic fields, and I could go, like I said, I could go on for hours about this nerdy stuff. So and I don't want to waste too much time in this video, but if you guys want me to talk about it, I will talk about it more. But there's definitely a lot of stuff about environment, and like I said, I'm a big believer in the fact that more than astrology, environment probably affects our personality in a lot of ways. Can astrology add some things and can maybe change some outcomes? Absolutely, but I think it could be mostly environment. Somebody said, what's a good interpretation for retrograde outer planets in a chart? For example, I have retrograde Leo, Jupiter in the 10th house. Me personally, I think when a planet is retrograde in a natal chart, I think that there just may be more of an emphasis on that planet throughout your life. I don't actually think it's maybe, I don't think it's that major. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Maybe, some other astrologers would have something different to say, but as far as I'm concerned, it just might mean that you have to deal with that energy maybe a little bit more throughout your life, but I don't really think it's it means all that much. I got a bunch of you have been asking about the deacon astrology. A lot of people said that we're saying, will you do more deacon astrology? I might. I know a lot of you asked me to do it a lot, and I get a lot of emails about this too because I did it for the 2016 readings. I broke you all up into deacons, and I think I did maybe some other deacon astrology videos in here as well. The thing about doing the deacon astrology is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. Not that I don't want to spend the time on you all lovely people, but it does. It takes a long time. So it's a timing issue. And like I said, I have other businesses that I have to run, so it's all about trying to get all these things fit in, which is, kind of doing readings plus this is kind of a little bit harder. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about maybe at least attaching some to the end of like the monthly videos or something like that, like just quickly going over it. So I think I'll try my best to work that in somewhere. Let's see. So back to the dollar crashing thing. Somebody said it's the fact that the dollar's crashing. Why aren't astrologers, tarot readers, and other people talking to us about what's coming and how to deal with it? They read cards, signs, hear from angel spirits, and so on, but no one says anything about what's coming. Why? I stay away from this stuff because, again, I want to keep this channel about readings. And doing the weekly readings, I don't want to talk about necessarily anything political or any of this other stuff in the channel. That's why I personally have stayed away from it. But plus, there's so much going on just in general here. Like I said, maybe if I start another channel, I'll talk about it. I'll see what you guys have to say about it. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with Saturn as well. And so, Saturn has to do with government and all this other stuff. Definitely would have to do with, like, these money issues and stuff like that. Just looking at Saturn right now, Saturn's in Sagittarius. It's squaring up to Jupiter. There you go. Squaring Neptune again. That's why, again, I said, today's events and things like that are prime for government manipulation and all these other things. I don't want to get too crazy on that, but we have all these Saturn aspects and all these Saturn things that we're dealing with. So I think in a lot of ways we are seeing this this governmental structure type energy coming in here and, possibly breaking up and seeing something very different take its place. So, I think the dollar thing is interesting. I mean, like I said, if you guys want, I'll do an entire video on it, and I'll go really deep into it. But again, I don't want to necessarily do that on this channel. Another person saying about the deacon readings and things like that. Yeah, it was more specific. Like I said, I think I'll probably do it. So that will be that. Somebody said, what encouraged you to start doing readings? Well, like I said, my mom made me start this channel, but readings in general, I don't know. I've still, even though I've always questioned, when I was younger, I questioned this stuff a lot. I had a lot of weird experiences when I was younger. And also I was always into weird stuff. So, I kind of just got started. I can't think of one, I don't think there was one actual event that started that in a lot of ways. A lot of people are asking about Saturn in general. A couple people asked about, somebody said they went through a divorce and all this other stuff. And Saturn was in their sign. And so a lot of people have been asking questions about Saturn. Yes, I do think things are going to get better eventually, but I do think it's going to take time. Again, I think we have to see a lot of these old wounds come up before things get fixed. So, that's very interesting to think about. But like I said, I think things will, of course, get better. Of course. Somebody said, how can they know what sign they are? Like you say, sun and moon sign. You can go to astro.com and you can type in your birth details, and that will give you your sun, moon, and all those other things like that. This was a question that I didn't want to miss as well. Somebody says, what does it take to be an astrologer or read cards? I'm somewhat intuitive, and I also have cards not that good to take on people. That was their first question, and it just takes some learning about astrology, number one, which astrology, I have a stack of books on my floor right here. I can't even get it in camera how big my stack of books is. It's a huge stack of books. I have more books over here about astrology. I'm constantly reading. That's one thing that I love about astrology, number one, is that you can just never stop learning about astrology. There's just too much to learn. So you can never stop there. Cards, of course, are a little bit easier, although I'm constantly learning about the cards and learning new things. But yeah, I would say just get started. I mean, no doubt about it. Just start reading. It really is that simple. Just do it. Don't be afraid to be wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong all the time. All readers, there's no way a reader could be 100% accurate. It's just not even possible. There's just too much. Like, I've said it before. Also, I think that, actually, psychic phenomena will probably be accepted by science at some point within the next 100 years or so, I would say, because I think that it is I think that it's more, I think it's just something more natural, maybe, than we think it is, and I think it will be very easily explained in the future, but right now it's not, of course. But yeah, I think we'll start to understand it more. But yeah, I would just say, just start reading for people and things like that. Just start a YouTube channel, start reading, and who cares? Like I said, who cares if you make mistakes? It doesn't even matter. And then they asked, will they ever relocate? Like I said, I'm not going to answer personal questions in this video, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people are moving this year. It's a big moving year. So is next year as well. Let's see. Somebody said, do you see career opportunities coming this month for Libra? Yeah, and another thing I want to stress is that as far as careers go and jobs go, like I said, I don't think jobs are coming back. I don't think they're going to get any easier to get. But if you want a job, the trick now is to apply to as many places as you can and really prove to the universe that you want it, and that will, attract that to you. Let's see here. More deacon readings. Yes, yeah, I know the deacon readings are very, very popular. Yeah, I will have to see. And I think our last question is, somebody said this was a good question too. How likely is a weekly forecast to become a reality the week after it's posted? Very interesting, because, I myself have had readings and things like that seem to come true a week after, or even a week before. It's like the reading totally describes the week before or something like that. So I think it's very likely. I think that there are some things where maybe it's possible that the reader is picking up on just a little bit more future energy for whatever reason, or maybe a little bit more past energy for whatever reason. So I think it's very possible. But anyway, this video has gone way longer than I thought it would. So thank you if you watched it all the way through, and thank you everybody for leaving your questions.